My name is Jennifer Bourgeau, and I am at the University of New Hampshire in the U.S. Coordination Office for GLOBE. And I am very pleased to introduce you to Janene Smith, who is going to talk about what GLOBE looks like in her middle school classroom. Really excited that she's here. We've heard so many wonderful things about the work you've done with GLOBE Mission Earth and the team at the University of Toledo. And so I can't wait to hear this. And you have been such an active teacher and educator in the program. And it is really nice that you're here to share that with us.
Well, thanks.
So I'll turn it over.
Okay, I'm super excited to share too, so thank you. Okay, so my name's Janene Smith. I teach middle school and high school science at a small parochial school in the very center of the state of Ohio in Mansfield, Ohio. The school is St. Peter's. It's just called St. Peter's School because it's a K through 12 school. It's very small. And it's urban. It's right near the downtown area. And I teach 7th and 8th grade science. And I also teach 10th grade biology and honors biology. And I teach a health class. And I just found out next year I get to teach 6th grade science. And then I have an elective class for the entire school year that's just called GLOBE Investigations. And I have been part of GLOBE or doing something with GLOBE for about 5 years. And it was several years ago after starting GLOBE that I just kind of like flippantly, almost as a joke, like said like, oh, it'd be so cool if I could just teach a class that was just GLOBE. And I just never let go of the idea. And I asked my principal about it. And, he said, well, that sounds really nice. And I just kind of kept asking and kept bothering him. And it just kind of like all the pieces just kind of worked out one year that like I had an extra period available and we had some kids that year that were really interested in science, and just a lot of pieces fell into place that it just worked out that my principal was like, why not? Sure, go ahead. You can try it this year. So he let me just kind of have this free block or period to do whatever I wanted with. And I kind of started the class thinking, I'm just going to keep it real broad. I'm just going to call it a citizen science class because maybe we'll use other citizen science activities or programs or stuff too. Because I wasn't quite sure I could fill a whole year with GLOBE activities and projects. I just didn't quite know how it was going to go. But we ended up doing nothing but GLOBE, starting right from the beginning, the first year that I did it. So it's totally project based. I don't give the kids any tests in the class. There's no like, traditional assessments at all. And like I said, it is elective. So it's totally based on whether the kids sign up for the class. But so far, the 2 years that I've done it, I have had enough kids want to join and sign up that we've been able to have it. And now that I've had, like the first year I kind of felt like was, kind of like a guinea pig year and just trying it out and trying whatever. Didn't really have specific goals or expectations from it. And then quickly after the first year was like, okay, now I know what I want to do for next year and how I want to improve it and how I can make it awesome. And so I've worked really hard the second year to make it like the best kind of project-based class that I can. And the kids have responded pretty good to it. We had a really good symposium last year, and I think that's about all the background information, I think. Okay, so I do have like a kind of a presentation to share. It's for a conference that I'm speaking at in a couple weeks. So it doesn't quite fit with this kind of like informal talk, but it has a lot of pictures of my kids in it. And so I thought it would be handy to just share it. So And I didn't know if anyone would be present that wasn't familiar with Globe. So I didn't know. I don't think I think you all know what Globe is. So I don't think there's anyone new that I need to share information about Globe with. But if anybody wants to stop me and correct me, I can give an introduction to what it is. But here's a couple of my students taking some measurements, and this is right outside of our school and next to our church. And then basically what I have to share with you today is just the things that have worked in this class that I've just kind of like started from scratch, and then some things that I definitely still need some improvement and that I'm still working on. And that's about all I have. So I'll get started. So basically the way I set the class up is we start out the school year with discussing scientific method and talking about things like how to collect data and a couple other like basic science skills that are important, like reading graphs and analyzing things. And then I just take the kids outside and let them try out as many different Globe protocols as I can in the when it's nice in the fall, the weather's nice and stuff. So we go out and we try taking tree measurements a couple times and surface temperature measurements and cloud measurements. And I've done we have a purple air, so we go out and set the sticky aerosol traps outside. And I haven't done soil yet. It's on my list of things to branch out and try doing some soil measurements. But I just take them out and I try whatever they tell me they're interested in and they want to attempt, so that they can see what all of the data collection is like. I introduce them to the Globe website, and we look at the map and the viz system so that they can see that once they upload their data, where it goes, and we talk about what it's used for. And then after they have like a couple weeks of this introduction, then I talk to them about how, okay, we're going to come up with some research questions and together as a class complete a research project. So we spend the beginning of the year doing a project together. And this has been really helpful for me because for many of the kids, this is their first attempt at any kind of scientific method project. So we do one completely together. I'm the one that types into the slides. They tell me what to type. We do it. We sit as a group. It's both years has been a really small group. I think the first year I had 7 kids. And this year, I think I started with 9 kids and now I have 7 with this group also. So it's a small enough group that I can just have them come kind of sit in a semicircle and we can share information, and I put everything in the slideshow or slide presentation and we work on it all together, and I take their input. And then after we do a project together, then I have them utilize whatever questions we've kind of come up with along the way and saved, and from doing the first project, like springboarding, like, well, what would our next steps be and things like that. Like we kind of accumulate some research questions as we go, and I say, okay, now everybody gets to pick something they're interested, and you can either do your own project or maybe work with a partner or something. So I give them a lot of freedom to make decisions about what they're going to be working on. I very much run the class like a club. So from time to time, I may say, like, so and so is going to take the lead on this, or if you guys are in a group, pick a group leader, or somebody's going to help me with the iPads when we go outside. So we sometimes assign jobs and roles for certain things that we're doing. But I do try to, as often as I can, like ask for a vote on things so that they feel like they have input as to what's going on. And then I use this class to like, no one has ever asked me to explain how this class fits in with standards and things that I'm teaching, because it's an elective. But if someone were to ever question, like, well, how is this contributing, or what are you doing that has to do with state standards or anything, I just use this class to cover the scientific inquiry standards for my state that are just reviewing the scientific method. And then after they finish their projects, I spend a couple weeks, maybe a week or two, sharing past projects with them, and I let them judge them and go over them so they can see what they should be looking for once they go to present. And then I have learned from the last 2 years that the kids, I'm not quite sure how I came up with this here. I don't quite remember, but I thought it might be helpful if some upperclassmen in our school, some older students, would come in and be kind of like mock judges so they could share before we had our symposium. And I was absolutely shocked at how much the 7th and 8th graders responded to visiting with the high school students. When I did it the first year, they immediately, right after we did it, said, when can we do that again? When are the high school kids coming back in the class? When do we get to talk to them again? So they really, really liked having the high schoolers come in and work with them. And so I immediately decided to just plan on that being like a yearly thing that I do, to have the older kids come in and look over their projects for grammatical errors and ask them a couple simple questions. And then after having the high schoolers come in, I thought, well, I should have some adults come in and mentor them too. And so we also have a day in class where our superintendent and our principals come in, and it's really adorable. They get really nervous when then they tell me, we're so scared, we're so nervous, when they know that the principals and administrators are going to come in and sit with them and ask them questions about their projects. But it's such good practice for them so that they get comfortable before they have to present them. And then I like to take breaks throughout them working on the projects and just randomly surprise them with like, okay, today we're not going to work on our project at all. We're just going to do something fun. And a couple of the fun things that I've done with them are we've worked on like a flower garden, and they've made some painted some garden. One day we just randomly painted some garden rocks, and I said that they just have to be globe themed garden rocks. And then last year we made globe board games where they had to create their own board games and use some of the vocabulary words that we had covered throughout the year. And I have some pictures. Once I scroll down on this presentation screen, I can show you some of their board games. The board game activity actually turned out way more awesome than I thought it would. And then this year, my plan is to have them make their own picture books about Globe and the topics that we cover on Globe that are environmental science topics. And then also, I love to just surprise them by reading them children's books. And they complain and roll their eyes and say that they are too big and too old for children's books. And then they sit and listen to them and beg me to do, when are you going to do that again, and stuff like that. And I actually brought home my favorite author to share with you. I don't know if anyone's familiar with this author, but and I actually just discovered him like a couple months ago. But the author Jason Chin writes science picture books, and he, not that I know of, does he know about Globe. I follow him on social media, and he's never mentioned Globe before, but he has probably 6 or 7 books that are on all different Globe protocols and environmental topics and stuff. So here's one on trees. It's called Redwoods, and in all of his books, they're really cool. They're very imaginative. Like they start out with someone always reading a book, and the kids in the books are always like transported to a different time or place. But he then uses the book to not only tell a story, but he usually shows measurement comparisons. So I guess I picked up the one book where he doesn't. Oh, okay, here's a page. So like the books will randomly have things on the pages like trees next to buildings or the Statue of Liberty, so that they can show comparisons of sizes and things like that. which I think puts things in perspective really good for the kids. There's one that's on water and the water cycle that's really cool. And then one of his more recent book that's really awesome is called Your Place in the Universe. And this book starts out with some students standing next to a telescope, and it compares their size to other things, and everything gets increasingly bigger. So it first compares like that an ostrich is as tall as 2 students, and then it says the ostrich 2 ostriches make up a giraffe, or 4 students in height. So everything just keeps increasing and getting bigger. And then throughout the book, he's telling this story, but he's also talking about how you can take measurements in feet and meters. And so there's just several themes usually going on throughout his books at one time. And so I mean, could probably read the book 4 times and talk about 4 different, like one time we could talk about measurement, one time we could talk about space. So his books are just super cool. So I recommend that teachers check him out, even if you have older high school kids. And then also last year, because we had started this wildflower garden in behind our school, after we finished up our projects and we had just a few weeks of school left, I finished the year up by having the kids read the book Seed Folks by Paul Fleischman. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that book, but it's a story that's written about a urban area in Ohio, in Cleveland, Ohio. And so it's super relevant to the kids in my state. And it's about a bunch of neighbors that live in an apartment complex that don't know each other. And they all come from different backgrounds, and they all contribute to the same community garden. And so it has a few things that I can connect and relate to Glow. But I just love any chance that I get to include literature in my science teaching. And it's a little bit harder in my other classes. So I just thought, well, I'm allowed to do whatever I want in this Globe class, so I'm going to include literature as often as I can. And then I have used the templates that have been given to me. I'm not sure where they all come from. I have several different templates for posters and slide presentations and things. And the kids find the templates so helpful to create their posters or presentations or whatever it is that their final product ends up being. And then I love using collaborative teaching tools such as Padlet and Trello, and I have an example of one of each to share with you. And then the other thing that I do very frequently, as often as I possibly can, is to meet with Globe mentors and NASA scientists whenever I can connect with them. So I, as frequently as I can, meet with Sarah and Kevin and Janet from University of Toledo. And last year, I'm trying to think, I can't think off the top of my head who else I met with last year, but I'm sure there were a couple. And so I try to do that as frequently as I can. Last year we were a block scheduled school. I had 4 classes a day, and this year was a huge change. We went to 7-period class schedule. So I've had to really adjust to having a shorter class period, and it has been much more difficult to sync up schedules with, I just don't have the kids long enough in my class for us to get everybody situated, get on Zoom, and then really get into something real deep and work on something. It just seems like it's time for the bell to ring by the time we really get to talking about something. But I'm not giving up on it. It just has become one of my challenges this year. Okay, so I have some pictures to share here. These are some of my students working together on a project that one of their ideas this year was, after we'd done the aerosol sticky traps, they decided they wanted to test if they would get more aerosols from different cardinal directions. So they are sticking the sticky traps on 4 sides of a milk crate here that they were preparing to put outside. So that was one of their projects this year. And then here's them meeting with another teacher and explaining their project to her. And here they are doing the heat things up activity with Sarah, who came to visit us in person. We have a pretty cool school building where we can go out on the roof. So this is the kids out on the roof one day collecting some surface and air temperature measurements. And here they are outside. I think this one they're collecting tree height, and this one they're taking some temperature readings. And then this picture here, they are Zooming with Dr. Zykowski. And this is our maintenance director. He's talking to them about the material that the roof is made out of. Some of the kids last year did a project on different types of surface materials. And so he actually brought a shingle tile from the roof to show them and talk to them about. And it just happened to be that when they were doing their project, we had some people working on the roof with a bucket truck. And so sorry, whoops, I didn't mean to click on that. The students asked the maintenance guys that were working on the roof if they would take the IRTs and take a surface temperature measurement way up on top of the roof for them. So it just was pure luck. I don't even know how that all worked out together, but so they got some measurements in a place where we never would have ever been able to get surface temperature measurements otherwise. And then this is one of the board games that the kids made, a globe board game. And then here we have the day of their symposium they were sharing, and some other symposium pictures. This is them sharing with another, this is our school counselor. And this is, we broke the maintenance guy's shovel working in our garden. So but the kids presented him with a brand new shovel and a letter thanking him because he helped us so much and came out and helped the kids dig up the garden and do some stuff outside. And then I think down here we've got some more pictures of us having fun at the symposium. And then one of the kids asked me, this is Ian, he asked if instead of making a board game, if he could make a Minecraft globe game. And so he's sharing right here his Minecraft globe game on his iPad, which turned out to be really, really awesome. And then this globe game, the student said one of the purposes of doing the game, he said, was to use all recycled materials. So he used a pizza box lid that he cut out and some pop caps for the pieces. And so his game was pretty cool also. Okay, so some of the things that I would love feedback on that I'm hoping to improve, or other things that I know how to improve them, I just need to work harder on them. In this list are, I need to do better about when I collect data. I tend to, just the way that we go through the scientific method, and when we get to the point where we're ready to collect the data and go outside, it's like, okay, now it's cold outside. So, which is okay. And I understand there's data that I can collect when it's cold outside, but the kids they always are very interested. Every year I've done this in doing the surface temperature. I don't know if it's because they like using the IRT guns or what specifically, but that just seems to always be the favorite. And I wish that I had them right smack in the middle of the summer, like July and beginning of August, when it's hot, and I could really teach them some stuff about how hot the asphalt gets outside and things like that. So I'm looking for ways to to get better at scheduling when I collect particular types of data outside. I had a plan to put in a frost tube this year, and to-do lists are just so long that it didn't get done. So that's one of the things that's on my list to take care of. When I started this class, I assumed the kids that would sign up for it would be like the science nerds like me that are just crazy about science and want to talk about it all the time. And that is absolutely not what happened. I ended up with all the kids that did not want to sing in choir. And they just didn't know what else to take. And so in a really awesome way, it's been like, okay, now I've got this challenge to teach these kids to love science, and to show them, that even if they think they couldn't have a career in a field like this, that they really could. So that's been a little bit of a challenge, and I've had to tweak things along the way to make the class enjoyable for them. And I'm still hoping that I get some of those kids that are just really obsessed about science and want to, just spend every minute working on their globe projects. Um, I already mentioned something about the shorter periods being a little bit difficult. I'm just learning and adjusting to how that's gonna work for me this year and next year. And then we don't have a lot of scientific environment around us besides the urban jungle of parking lots and the downtown area. So there's a small field next to our school. It's just grass. There's nothing too terribly exciting about it. It's an empty lot that used to have a house on it. And other than that, I don't have any fresh water or anything like that. So we're just working with what we have. And because I'm in a parochial school, um, we don't have any busing. So if I were to take a field trip or something, everything would have to be paid for out of pocket. So it's it's not that it's not possible. It's just not possible for me to do it on a regular basis to get kids to a place to like regularly collect data like that. And then with the smaller class sizes, I've really struggled this year with, and last year with student absence. Like as soon as 3 kids are absent, it's half the class, and it's like, why even go over anything? Because they're half the class is missing instruction. So I'm looking for ways to work around what to do when kids are absent and what they miss. Because this is just a different class to kind of explain what you missed yesterday or something than just like, well, here's the homework and here's the textbook. So it's a little bit harder. And then hold on, I'm trying to move this thing out of the way. Okay. I One of the biggest challenges has been explaining to students how scientists first do research and how they use peer-reviewed journal articles, and having the kids attempt to do a little bit of research before they do their projects. There I just Like I said, I have these kids that they're not necessarily science nerds. They don't necessarily want to read all about these science topics, and science journals are not written for 7th graders. So it's asking a lot for them to try and dig deep and understand those. So I'm definitely always looking for help at figuring out how to get them to understand that part of science fields. And then a long-term goal, possibly, I sometimes get high schoolers in my biology class that will say like, well, that's so unfair. You get to take those 7th graders and 8th graders outside all the time, and they're always doing fun, cool stuff in that class, and we want to do that. So the high schoolers will tell me that they'd love to take a globe class, but when we surveyed them this past year, I got a response of 0 interested in actually taking it. And I don't necessarily think it's because there's no kids interested in science. I believe it's because high schoolers are so focused on the things that they need to check off their list for graduation, and there's other classes that are more important for them to take, that I think a lot of the kids just think, I don't have time to take a elective class. So I'd love to change this class to a half semester with junior high kids and a half semester. I just think the high schoolers have so much potential to do such cool things. I'd love to see what they're capable of, but I just am not quite sure how to do that yet and how to make that available to them. Um, I mentioned this to my boss a week or two ago, and he actually said, I wish you would have told me that a while ago, because I think maybe I'll give you a TA. And so next year, I might have a teacher's assistant in this class, because he said, although there may not be a huge interest enough to have a whole high school class, he said, I bet there's 1 or 2 seniors that, they just have all of their credits taken care of, and they're just, the kids that end up being office aides or looking for some class to fill that one extra spot. He said, I bet we could find a student or 2 that would be interested, that could help you, and that could maybe do some kind of an independent project in your globe class. So hopefully next year there'll be that one perfect science nerd student that will want to help me out with the class. And then the last thing that it's a problem in all classes in all schools, is we had this amazing, tiny, adorable little symposium last year when they finished all their projects, and I was so proud of them. and a bunch of our Globe mentors came from University of Toledo. It was awesome, and not a single parent came um, to support the kids. So parent involvement is something that I'd love to work on and get parents to see the cool things that these kids are doing. We do have a really, because we are a parochial school and we depend on interest to get um, enrollment at our school, we do have a really good team that works on social media. And so my Globe class frequently gets featured on our school website and Instagram page and things like that. So the community, the school community does know about the class and that the kids are doing these projects outside at least. And that's about it. I have a couple more pictures here of the kids' posters last year. I think I can, yeah, there's a scroll thing so you can see. There's one more there. Oh, no, there's two more. Okay. And then I think that's about it. I have not heard anyone else say that they teach a Globe class. I would love to talk to someone that does. I'd love to bounce ideas off of other people or maybe inspire others to try something like this. I just know that when I started Globe, I had this constant feeling of like, I'll never have time to do all this fun, cool stuff. And it's just been so cool to put it into an elective class. Even if someone maybe wanted to try like a quarter class or something that wasn't a whole school year. So if anyone knows anyone that does anything like this, I'd love to have the contact so that I could talk to someone and just further better this class and make it as awesome as possible. And so that's it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Janene. That was awesome.
Yeah, no problem.
That was inspiring.
Aw, thanks. Oh, I do have a couple things that I wanted to share. Like, I'm sorry. Before I do the hit the unshare. I have a Padlet. I don't know if anybody's familiar with what Padlet is. Hold on, I can't reach it up at the top. There we go. So I have a Padlet that shows some of the kids' thought process. This is how they collaborate and work together on the same project. So if anybody is not familiar with Padlet and has questions about it, I could talk to you about it maybe another time since there's not enough time to do it today. And then this was a Padlet I used just to share information about the class for another presentation. And then I've also used Trello. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Trello, but I've also used Trello to organize information for the class and post different activities and things. This is for myself for lesson planning. The Padlet is like a resource that I use for the kids to participate and communicate. And then I just saved a couple things to share, like some of the activities that I've created. I've saved some of the Globe data and stuck it in a worksheet so that the kids can just quickly analyze data from previous years and worksheets. So I just created some activities. So throughout having the class, I've had the time to create some original lessons and activities and things for them to do. And I guess that's about it. So I'll stop sharing now.
So I don't know if you saw in the chat, but
no, I haven't seen any of them. Sorry.
Okay. No. You're not supposed to look there. You're
okay.
So that's totally fine.
Okay.
So people have been giving you some suggestions of other people.
Okay, good.
Who have taught that. So Svetlana knows one who does a semester-long science enrichment class. Okay. And then Dave Badowski says that Jeff Bowman in Gibraltar also has a class. And let's see, Lori says you should present this at your Ohio State Teachers Conference.
I am in 2 weeks. I'm super nervous.
No, that was great. If this was your dress rehearsal, then
yes, it was.
I think you nailed it.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, what do we have here?
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't have enough time to really show the Padlet. I'm so sorry.
No, you
Okay.
definitely did. So what we can also do, if you are okay with it being public, we can put the links in
Sure.
with
Yeah,
this
I can share
presentation.
those.
And so we can share that way. And let's see, John said, have you done activities with the urban heat islands? But that was one of the Padlets you showed.
Yeah, yeah, the first year we did it, the first activity the kids did was surface temperature outside, and we talked quite a bit about urban heat island the first year.
Awesome. So it looks like Svetlana, you have a question. So if you do have a question, if you could just stick up your hand in using the whatever, what are they? The reactions. That would be great. But Svetlana, we'll start with you and then go to
Okay,
Sarah.
two quick questions. One is that I noticed that you gave sort of a very broad brush intro to a lot of protocols and data collection approaches,
Uh-huh.
and you narrowed into a project. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your thinking with regard to exposing them to a lot. There's a lot of, not controversy, but discussion in the Globe community about broad versus narrow, data collection versus data analysis, all of that kind of thing. So anything that you can share about your decision-making process about how to approach it. And then the second question, which is lower priority, but if you did try to do this inside of a regular science classroom, you chose to make this a standalone class, but I didn't know if you had also considered doing, more traditional approach of making it part of a regular classroom. And if you have time to address that, but I don't want to hog the floor
Okay.
here.
So, I am I may be unfamiliar with what you were saying about the broad versus narrow.
So you expose them to a lot of different
Yes, I
protocols,
did.
saying, let's do hydrology and
Well, I
and
just let them pick. So that was kind of the idea behind it was which one do you think sounds the most interesting to look more into, or to maybe which one do you have curious questions about? And we just kind of went into whichever direction they were interested. So I didn't really have like a plan other than both years I was like, well, I'm really interested in soil. So maybe, and neither year were they interested or wanted to do the soil. And so I haven't gotten to do it yet, um, but yeah, the purpose for sharing the different protocols with them was more for just introducing them to Globe because they were unfamiliar with it. So saying like, hey, this is what this citizen science program is. And these are the different things that you can do to participate. Um, and then the second question to answer you is, before the last 2 years where I had this Globe class, I actually did try pretty hard to incorporate it in my regular science classes. And I would occasionally do a Globe activity or something, and if it matched up with whatever we were talking about in the textbook. But I feel a lot of pressure to get through the standards that I'm supposed to teach them. And the textbooks are just so much bigger than they should be, and it's overwhelming. It's so hard to get through everything. So the year before I had the Globe class, we finished the textbook early. It was the first year of my teaching I'd ever finished a textbook, and finished it with like 3-4 weeks of school left to go. And I was like, what am I going to do for the rest of the school year? And so I finished out the year with just kind of like a Globe unit. And and that was where I really felt determined to like, okay, I need to make this a class. Once I had the opportunity in that regular science class to just focus on it, I thought, yeah, I could teach a project-based class like this. So that was kind of where that started from. I hope that answered your question.
Thanks.
All right, so Sarah and then John.
So Janine, awesome job. And you,
Thanks.
okay, one thing
Thanks,
I really
Sarah.
wanted you to tell them about is the poster board, the trifold board that you showed.
Oh, I have,
this week.
okay, I have pictures. Okay, I forgot all
Okay.
about it, but I have
Okay,
pictures.
cool.
So I'm glad you mentioned it. Okay, so I recently, oh, sorry, this was from when I was adding pictures to the presentation. I recently created these two poster boards. Let me find them. Okay. To help the kids with kind of two separate topics. One was how to look at research projects. They seemed like one of the things I was kind of surprised was hard for them to understand was like just what's an abstract. It was kind of hard to explain to them that like it's just this summary. Um, and so I made this poster that shows like the basic structure of a poster, and then I have a poster here that shows an example that's a globe project. And then I also, when I discussed this with them and when I shared this guide to them, I wanted to make sure that they understood that it doesn't just have to be a poster, but any kind of scientific research paper or anything can be read this way. And so I made this in response to when I had them looking at other students' projects and I had them pretend to be the judges. I would get comments back like, it looks nice, like nice pictures, graph looks great. And I just felt like they weren't reading the research and analyzing the posters. And so that was kind of where this display came out of to help me kind of get them to have a deeper understanding for, you know, the whole purpose of doing these projects. And then the other poster that I made is, I guess maybe first I should share this. I think this is it. Okay, so this is the template that I have created and that I use for my globe projects. And it's a little bit different from the template that I was first given that has like the bullets, that has the sentence starters that the kids can use. So I made the slides blank, but at the bottom of the slides, I don't know if you can see it. Oh, it's because I moved it down. Hold on. Okay. At the bottom of the slides in the notes section, I have put what they should be putting up in the slide because the kids seem to struggle, especially we're an iPad school and the iPads just don't really work with Google Slides very well. They struggle with the like changing, or they feel restricted to those sentence starters, I think. And sometimes I feel like if they could just use their own words and express it, I don't know, I guess I'm trying to kind of say a lot of things all at once, but I just felt like putting what should be in the slide was better underneath it. So they had this blank slate to put everything. And so each one of these slides has just like a little guide down at the bottom, and then they can add, they can delete, they can re-add, and they won't lose the information at the bottom once they start working on the slides. So this is what the template looks like that they get. But then after I made this template, I wanted to share with them like bigger, like on my projector screen, what each poster slide should look like. And so I made this poster board that just has that information on it. So this just explains that the abstract should be the summary, and you save this slide for that. So each one of these just has the part that's in the little notes really big. And this poster board is up in my classroom at all times when they come into class. So no matter what section they're working on, they have a quick reference to what they should be including on that part. And then I did have one other thing that I was going to share, and that is that we have a old-fashioned book binding system at our school, and the kids love that when they're done, I turn their projects into books, and each slide is just a page, and they can take it home this way, and they don't have to carry home some massive trifold poster board. So that was just kind of almost like a gift to give them, to say like, awesome job, look at what you made, it's so cool, take it home, share it with your parents, even though they couldn't come to our symposium. So and they just have really responded to that. They love the books. And when I said that I was going to have the kids make their own picture books this year, my inspiration from that was to use the Jason Chin books. And then after they make them, I was going to bind them and put them together like this. And so maybe I'll be able to share their books about Globe when they
That is awesome. There's a lot of compliments over here in the chat for you, but John has a question. We are at the top of the
I'm
hour,
sorry.
so hopefully he can squeak that in. before we leave.
Okay.
Sure, Jane, great. I love the presentation, learned a lot, and I
Thank
kind
you
of want
so
to
much.
maybe pick your brain a little bit later, maybe share contact information later. Because
Sure. I'd love to.
yeah, because what I'm doing right now is I'm actually teaching a physics course at the community college where I'm at. And a lot of I'm teaching a course on physics, but it's physics for teachers. And so these teachers are going to education. And I've already I made it a point for that this semester. I was going to include like online e-training for them to become Globe teachers at the end of the semester. And I like the presentation because you've already engaged with your students doing Globe and being able to utilize all these other different resources. And I kind of wanted to bring those ideas into my classroom so that my teacher students, when they get out, they're going to have, not only will they come out with the training as being like a Globe teacher, but then they'll have some
application things.
Exactly. Especially I like the fact that you did the poster. I think that we do a lot of science fairs. Like this is the science fair period for us. So, I mean, for them to go take it back into the middle school and elementary or high school, whatever they're going to be teaching in the future, it'd be great to see how they can already have the experience of how to do a poster, how to do those presentations, so they can really relay that to their students. So I was kind of it was a great presentation. I think I could see a lot of applications and bringing that into the class that I'm teaching for teachers and have them, really be prepared to utilize Globe and just be, more tech and science friendly toward their students.
Well, thank you. And reach out anytime. That was my purpose in doing this, was I was hoping that I would be able to connect with some people that would, that we could bounce ideas off of and collaborate with.
Sounds great. Appreciate it.
Perfect. So Janene did put her email in the chat. We will definitely be posting this one to our YouTube channel with her permission,
Yes,
so that
fine.
we can, so that John, you could have them watch the video and then, potentially connect with her in person or on Zoom or something like that. Your presentation was awesome.
Thank you so much.
Janene, really it was. And I definitely think that connecting teachers to each other, and so just like you said, building a community of practice for Globe educators, I think is a great idea. So it's definitely something I think all of us here could agree with.